Like classification of data, right? I said data are classified by the level of secrecy, that is the confidentiality. So we mentioned them public, general, confidential, highly confidential. So let's start with the public. So the public is it carries zero risk. There is no risk with that. You know that what carry risk here might not carry risk somewhere else. Like let's assume I just want to use Nigeria situation for example. You know, if I meet Aisha outside, maybe I discover oh, this person can be my friend. I can approach her. My name is Olajide. Can I know your name? She can freely tell me her name. However, if a kidnapper should meet you and ask you your name, you know, the danger of knowing your full name, especially if you are related to maybe an higher authority, maybe president, governors, and others, you know that that name might put you in trouble. Even in our day-to-day activities, if you just meet somebody that said, my name is, or my surname is Dangote, even if the person is not related to the Dangote we know, the kind of special treatment or the way that people will look at that person is actually different. So in this context, when we say data that carries zero risk, that is data that does not have anything to do, like let's say marketing brochure, company adverts, and some other things like that. You will see that they don't carry any risk at all. There is no risk at all. But the other one, the general, when I say general, general does not mean public. So let's get it very well. I said I'll use layman term. General means internal only. Internal only. You know, there are some information that is peculiar to an organization. The information is peculiar to organization. It is just standard information that is used to run their day-to-day activities. It's not majorly a confidential or data that carries secrets that much, but they are just company internal information that is used to deliver day-to-day activities, maybe like internal phone number directory, like Teams and some other things like that. If you look at it very well, you will see that it does not really bring that much risk to the organization, like some internal memo. Okay, we'll be fumigating the company on Saturday by 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. Nobody should be available. You'll see that such information is for the organization alone. Such information is for the organization alone, is not to the public. So information like that, we classify it as general. Then the next one that we talked about earlier is confidential. So confidential is restricted. Restricted. So the first one we talk about is public. The second one we talk about is general, which is internal use only. And the third now is confidential, which is restricted. So they are sensitive internal data. They are sensitive internal data. This information, if they leak, they might not destroy the company over time, but however, somebody might hold the company responsible, or it might bring embarrassment, and they might even be fired, or there should be internal uproar within the staffs or board of directors. So there are some confidential information that maybe like PDF, you know, what is it called now? I've forgotten them in HR. Payroll, like the payroll information in HR just got leaked to the entire company. And you see the salary structure of everybody. You discover somebody that you have the same job title, you do the same job, and one person is earning than the other person. I know some people that have been to a lot of organizations, especially the toxic kind of organization, will understand what I'm talking about. When you have your colleague the same level, the same job title, the same role, the same work, the same everything. But however, one person is earning than the other. Such information will bring issues even within colleagues. That's why you see that at times there are strife between the team. There are some people that feel that since they are the one earning higher, they should be the one doing much job than the other because of the information that is leaked, or maybe customer information that carries BVN, NIN, phone number, home address, and others. You can see that they are actually confidential information, but they are not information that can destroy the company overnight. But however, the last class of data, which is the highly confidential, that is a top secret. So let's imagine during Iran and US fights, there are some secrets within the CIA. If it got to Iran, Iran can easily use it against the US. If there are some more in between the Iran soldiers that are giving US information, they are at least top secrets. You will see that they can use that against them. So those ones are highly confidential information. If the data leaks, the company could shut down overnight. They can get sued for billions of naira. Executive management can go to jail. Directors can find themselves in EFCC custody. We have been seeing it around. A lot of them, we have been seeing it around. So let's say, for example, maybe the recipe of maybe Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Indomie, they will see that most of this organization don't mind all those things that is written at the body. Most of them, they have their recipe. You see, those recipe, they will not leak it to other organization, or a draft proposal for two banks that want to merge together. You will see that most of the time you don't get those information. Is internal people that gives information. Oh, if you have money with so bank, go and withdraw your money. At that point, the deal is either finalized or almost finalized before it start getting to the public notice. That is the ground members, staff members that can start leaking the secrets, out. So these are the classes of information. So data. So we've talked about the format, we've talked about the definition, and we've talked about the classes. I am lost. Please let me know before we proceed. I am lost. Please let me know before we proceed. You are still with me. Please indicate. Okay, thank you. I can see that we are still together. So let's go back to our slide. You can see on our screen, I've explained what Purview actually looks like, what compliance also looks like. So we have unified compliance platform, which is the Purview decentralize multiple compliance into a single portal. For people that know how dashboard work, we see that most of the information that is used on our dashboard, maybe team performance, organization flows, and other things like that, you will see that those information are gotten from different sources. But on your dashboard, you will see a unique data representation of all those information that has been given to us. If you remember when we are talking about the format, the structured and unstructured, initially when they got the information, it was unstructured and it was restructured to a dashboard that you can actually relate with. So our Purview also is like that dashboard that centralized multiple compliance into a single portal, instead of having them in different places, or trying to purchase SEO applications, purchase this one for data protection, purchase this one for data classification, purchase this. No. So we have everything together in the Microsoft Purview. Also, you can see regulatory compliance support depending on the organization, the country, the continent, and some other basic factor where you find yourself will determine the compliance. As a Nigeria-owned company, either banking sector, hospitals, where again, just mention them, you are not allowed to keep your customers' information, not your staff information, get me? Your customers' information in the cloud. That's why you see a lot of organizations have their on-premise servers. They have their on-premise servers. I was saying it yesterday that one of the lucrative business that people don't look into in Nigeria is having data centers. Having data centers is a lucrative business, but you need a lot of money to actually create one. So for the fact that you can't keep your data in the cloud, so people have to patronize our local data centers to keep those informations locally. You can't keep them in cloud. So if you register with NIN now, NIN can't keep those data in cloud. They have to keep them on-premise servers. So compliance, Purview will help you to be compliant with all those things that are needed to be done. Perhaps somebody now tried to move the information from your server then outside the organization. When we get there, you will see how Purview will restrict based on a form of security or configuration that has been done. Look at the fourth one we have, risk reduction capacity. I keep telling people that no matter how we try to secure our organization and put everything form of compliance in place, you will see that it only reduces the risk. It won't eradicate the risk. And like somebody used to say humorously, that somebody that is praying that God, I don't want to die. Or I've forgotten how that person used to say it in PG. Like, God, make motor no kill me, make motor no kill me, make motor no kill me. One day, now they sleep inside your house, aeroplane fall down on top of your house. At the end of the day, every die, not die. So, however, you see that dodging that car crash will only mitigate the risk of having crashes. Meanwhile, there are some other form of crashes. So it will only reduce some of those things. As I said earlier, most of the data leak and breaches, they are human error. They are human error. So we will see that organizations don't put intent in some critical position, no matter how good or experienced you are. So far, they see that you are entry level or intent. There are some places that they will not give you, and there are some access that you never ever get into. That some places we never get into. So it helps prevent data leak, detect insider threats, and supports incident investigation to reduce organizational risk. So perhaps somebody went, a director sent message to the group to everybody, and somebody went to delete that message for everybody. And the person came up that we are not the one that deleted it. We are not the one that deleted it, because the director said they will fire the person. At the end of the day, in Purview, you can always trace who did such action. So, and you can also integrate it with other applications like Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, and some external applications that are not Microsoft application also, if you know how to configure it, but we'll not be talking about that yet. Let's even get familiar with basic ones and know how to get around it first before we go to the complex ones. So any question before I proceed? If I'm too fast, let me know. Any question before I proceed? No question. Okay. So I just pick some little things that we just need to talk about before going into every other parts of the purview. Because by the time we open our portal, so you start asking, what is this? Why is this one here? Why is that one here? So that's why I'm taking my time to explain all this. So key business and compliance drivers for using Purview. One, it address data challenges. It address data challenges. So you see most of the growing businesses, regulatory, security challenges related to data as companies um, rely on cloud collaboration tools, the volume of sensitive data such as personal information, financial records, intellectual information, maybe property, they continue to grow over time. You will see that before now, somewhere in Lagos, we don't have land use. Now you have land use regulatory, they are building your house. There are some additional documentation that you need to get. Before now, there is nothing like tinted permits for your cars. If you want to put your car completely black, you can go ahead. But now there's a kind of permit. So as all this regulatory and everything is growing, I'm just using that as example, you will see that there are a lot of proper controls that needs to be put in place in case they are accidentally shared, lost, or misused. I wish together that. So Purview will just help you to organize and respond to these challenges by providing visibility into where sensitive data resides and how it is used, how it is used. So regulatory compliance is just a driver as we have our law and standards in most of our organization, and most of this law and standard is to protect our personal confidential data, to protect both the employer and the employee, the brand we represent, and others. So there are a lot of things that actually put in place, and the soul of any business is trust. The soul of any business is trust. I think, let me ask us questions. Why do companies bring external audits to audit their processes? Why do companies bring external audits to audit their processes? Who will answer? We have 1 minute. Why do I have to go and bring people from KPMG, Deloitte, and others to come and audit us? Why? Why do I have to do that when I have my internal audits already? Why do I have to do that? Let's talk. I'm expecting our response in the chat. Are we still together? Okay, thank you, too. So the first two people that answered, thank you for client trust. For client trust, and they want the organization to meet the standard. They want the organization to meet the standard. Yeah, so this is how it works. I do explain with people that don't transact with somebody that have nothing to lose. I think sometimes last year, I also mentioned it here. When I was in secondary school, we do trek from my school to Tejo Market. My school is somewhere in VI. For those that are familiar with Lagos, we trek from there to Yaba, Tejo Market. to buy football boots, shin guard, and others. So this very day, when we get to CMS Bridge, as if we are walking to Costain, that bridge, as if we are walking directly to Costain. This driver, commercial driver, and a private, and a car owner that was driving also, they started some opera. Lagos now, do you know where I am? Do you know where I am? So the commercial vehicle hits the car from the back, and the car owner wants to fight the commercial driver. The guy brought out his wheel spanner and hit the car owner on his head, and that was the end. The guy died at that same spot. That was when we heard that commercial driver had been to prison like 5 to 6 times. So he did go to prison to relax. Then after some time, they release him, he come back, commit another crime, and go back to prison. So what am I trying to say? You don't transact with somebody that have nothing to lose. We all know that driver that killed that man has nothing to lose. We'll go back to the prison as usual, and probably might receive maybe presidential or governor pardon, and is out of the prison again. But the person that died, that is the end. Also, let me give you another example. If you take a business proposal to Dangote refinery, that, okay, I can be supplying you crude oil for 800 naira per liter or per barrel now, 800 naira per barrel. And $40 comes and say, okay, Dangote, I will supply that same crude for 100K per barrel. Who do you think $40 will go to? Dangote will go to $40 or yourself, and why? Who do you think $40 will go to? Dangote will go to $40 or yourself. Let's assume Dangote wants to buy crude oil. We want to supply Dangote. $40 wants to supply Dangote, and $40 wants to supply at high cost. But we want to know who Dangote will pick out of you or $40, and why. So I'm expecting our response. I just want to carry us along. I'm expecting our response. Thank you. So Dangote will go to $40. Why? Because of trust, and also $40 has something to lose. If anything goes wrong, both Dangote and $40, they have something to lose. But if Dangote transacts with you, and if anything happens, you and I will be the one to first criticize him. Chibi, you see $40 there. Why you go buy for that guy and now cheat, they even cheat themselves? Are we getting it? So the same thing with organizations. For a proper organization, let's assume the British Tobacco, they want to open accounts, a foreign account with Access Bank. They don't do the same way that you and I will just go and get our form and start filling it. My name is Nikon, we'll bring our CAC and others. No. They want to know the score of your internal audits, and they want to know the organization that auditing. They want to know if their data and information that will be given to you is secure or not. And at times they even sign, is it ETA or what is it called? Just in case there is a breach of data, this is how much you'll be paying us for it. So they want to build trust, and that is how business grow. If they cannot trust you, then they won't give you business. They will give you business. So which is one of the reasons why we have the purview, which is the compliance. I believe we get what is on the screen. I just have to use a real life scenario so that you can understand what, yes, NDA, thank you, that one. So you have to use what you can relate with so you understand the necessity for compliance, because for very long, I asked myself about that audit. Why do you have to bring external audit and pay them this much when we have our internal audits already? So it was later I understand this concept. So let's go to the next slide. So overview of core purview components. So overview, we have core purview components. We have the information protection. So it actually have several core components, but the one we'll be working with majorly to deliver comprehensive data governance and compliance are these four that we have on the screen. Information protection focuses on classifying and protecting sensitive data using sensitivity label, encryption, and access control. Then we have our DLP, data loss prevention policy. Before I go to DLP, so let me just talk a bit again about information protection so we can get it right. So it's about identifying your data and putting a secure stamp or label on it so everyone knows how secretly it must be treated. Don't forget our classes of data. That's why I take the pain to explain data earlier. So don't forget. So information protection is all about identifying your data and putting a secure stamp on it. Either is general, either is public, either is confidential, highly confidential. So everyone will know how to treat it, and no matter where it goes, it still carry the same secrecy. So let's imagine we got hold of some CBN files. You know, there are some CBN files that if you get to your desk, if you know what the right thing to do with that information, you can become rich overnight. You can become rich overnight, either legally or illegally, depending on the kind of information you have on your desk. So that is where information protection comes in. I believe we have seen some zip files. Once you download them, it will still ask you for code before you can have access to them. Or there are some PDF on the internet. You can actually download it, but you can't copy any information from it. You can't copy. If you try to highlight and copy, it won't copy. So that is that for information protection. So the next part is data loss prevention policy. If you see the first part, we are protecting the information. We are protecting it from not getting to the wrong hands and for people to know the information to use and how to use them. And the next thing is data loss prevention. Those information don't get lost. Those information don't get lost. In most organizations, there are some people, if you leave the organization, your mailbox is archived. They don't deactivate your account completely. They archive your mailbox, all the contents of your mailbox, your OneDrive, everything, they are still intact. Should in case they need to make reference to any, or they need to get some information. Some organization will even create forwarding. If an email is sent to this guy, it should be forwarded to another member of the team that is still working with the organization, and they can always react to those information if needed. So data needs to be prevented from getting lost. So information protection is the stamp on the file, while data loss is the security guard standing at the gate, checking people's bag before they leave the compound. before they leave the compound. There are a lot of places you will go. While going in, they will not check your boots, but when going out, they will do what? They will check your boots. They will ask you to open your car boots to see what you have in it. So that represents our data, our DLP. We'll stop calling it data loss prevention. So DLP, it prevents sensitive information from being shared inappropriately across emails, files, and collaboration tools. So the next one we have there is our information governance. So information governance manage the life cycle of data through retention labels and policies, ensuring data is kept or deleted according to the business and legal requirements. According to the business and legal requirements. So it's just about managing the life cycle of your data. You decide how long you must keep a file and when it is time to permanently destroy it, so it doesn't cause a liability or a clog in your system. So it all depends on what you are dealing with. Let's imagine a file that contains maybe some policy or laws that have been abolished in Nigeria. You will see that such files should not be kept and be destroyed completely. So while the final one we have on our screen, the insider risk management, it helps to identify risky internal behavior such as data or policy violation while respecting users' privacy. You will see that a lot of these things are what we do day to day. While external hackers are a threat, sometimes the biggest threats come from inside the house. You will see that most of the banks issues that we've been having recently, I don't mention any bank name, you see that most of them are insider threats. They are insider threats. I believe there have been scenario during the security that they will tell you that we don't give people more than we don't give people excess access to some information. We only give them roles based on what they need to do. Somebody that needs to manage users should not be assigned a global admin. You don't need it. So insider risk is the tool that is put in place to make sure all these things are worked on. So I don't know if there are other any question, then before I proceed. Any question, if I'm too fast, please let me know. I'm just trying to beat the time based on, my system is started twice. Time is fast spent. We only have 4 days to cover everything. So any question? Any question before we go to the next then? Any question? I want to assume there is no question. Are we still together? We can react, can drop chats. Okay. Thank you. So we are still together. So now let's open our Purview. Enough of English. If I come to this place, let me talk about the last part of the slide. So we'll have to come back to the slide again. So roles and permission that is needed for you to be able to work on Purview. There are some roles that you needed for you to be able to work on Purview. You can see, I believe we have talked about role groups before. So Microsoft 365 Purview uses a role group to specify user permission and control access. So common roles include compliance administrator, compliance data administrator, security leader, e-discovery manager. So each role grants a specific permission align with job responsibilities to you. For example, now a compliance administrator cannot configure policy and manage investigation, while a security reader can view reports, alerts without making changes. So proper role alignment ensures accountability and reduce the risk of accidental or malicious misconfiguration. Somebody that don't have experience and you go to assign that person maybe a global admin. One day you might wake up and discover that all your users have been deleted, or the person go to run a PowerShell. I think some years ago, when I started my journey with Microsoft 365, I was working with a customer. Yeah, it was on a hybrid environment. I believe all understood what hybrid is. They have their on-premise sync to the cloud. So the customer said for one particular user, the information or the changes done on the local AD is not syncing to the cloud. And I was to work with him to get it resolved. People of God, by the time I was done with the customer, nothing was syncing again. Not just the affected user, but the entire tenant stopped syncing to the cloud. We have to get an experienced person to help the customer to solve the problem. So what am I trying to say? The role is very important. For beginners, it is important to understand that roles should be assigned based on your job function. I have a tenant till today. I don't have access to that tenant. I don't know the PowerShell. I ran the script. I don't know what exactly went wrong with that script. And it deleted all the admins. I mean, all the admins in that environment. The tenant is still in existence, but there is no admin on that tenant. The test environment, no admin till today. So it is good that we understand the role that should be assigned based on our job function. Imagine that is a production environment, that would be a problem. So we should do a regular review of roles assignment and also recommend to ensure permission remain appropriate as responsibilities change. This role-based model supports strong governance and operational security within the Purview environment. We will see that is why we mention it one after the other: proper assignments, governance, and security. So these are the rules and permission in Microsoft 365 Purview. These are the basic rules. There are still some rules that are not basic rules, but can be assigned to user based on their job functionality. Based on their job, they can assign only that role, and the role is assigned inside the Purview itself, not from the Microsoft 365 admin center. So for slide, I will stop there tonight for slide. Then let me sign into Purview. Tony. I want to believe we all know the Purview URL. I want to believe, or should I just assume that all of us know the Purview URL? There's my chat. So I've dropped it in the chat. Let me stop sharing this guy. Share my new window. I believe you can see my new window. If my screen is too tiny, please let me know. I'm using a wide screen just in case. If my screen is too tiny, please let me know so I can increase the fonts. Yeah, don't worry, somebody already said it. What's happening? Better. I'm seeing one name that looks familiar. Evans Afenso. Are you Joseph's brother? Wow. So there are several ways you can get to this guy, depending on where you are coming from. But you can use the link I have. You can use the link I have in the chat box. Tell you to use the original site. I do not. So you can use the link we have in the chat box. Please zoom your screen. Wow. Okay, I'm doing that. Why? Why are you bringing me here? This is the classic. You are taking me back to the classic. Oluwatoyin, can you see it now? Okay, here we are. So it's either you go to purview.microsoft.com or you can do admin.microsoft.com. So if I do admin.microsoft.com, it takes me to the admin center. So from the admin center, I can actually navigate to which of the admin center I'm going to still bring me back to the same place where we are currently. So I believe you can still see my screen. So if I go to the admin center, still tiny. Wow. What am I going to do today? Is it better now? So from the
Still
admin
tiny. Oh.
center, it's
Can
still
you increase
tiny.
the size of from the browser itself? Magnify it from
Yes,
the
I'm
browser
doing that
side.
from the browser. I'm doing that from the browser.
Yeah, you might
What
have to do it
about
for
now?
every tab. Oh. I think it's better now.
Yeah,
Oh, it looks too much, oh, but I think it's better now.
looks too much. This. What about now?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's better now.
Okay, thank you. So from the admin center, I can see we have other admins. So we can always select Microsoft Purview. So it will still bring us back to the Purview admin center to still bring us back to the. So if you look at this place, this guy is like our dashboard that shows what is going on in the organization. See my security posture, 33%. Okay. So this one is not is a test standard, not a production environment. In production environment, if you have 33%, then you are seriously at risk. So this is how the Microsoft Purview Admin Center look like. And we see at the left, you see solutions. From the solutions now, you can see that most of what we've talked about are what we have on our screen. We have the audit, communication compliance, compliance alerts, compliance manager, data catalog, data lifecycle management, data
you may
loss
have to increase it
prevention.
again. Oh. Sorry, Olajide. Can you increase it like 1 or 2 more times?
Okay. Like this.
Yes,
Especially for,
this is good. This is
for
good.
those that are using their mobile phone. I hope you'll be able to see something. So you will see that most of what we've talked about are what you can see on the screen now, one after the other. We have the audit, communication compliance, compliance alerts, data catalog, data lifecycle management, data security investigation. You can see that everything, almost everything we have mentioned so far, they are what? Data, everything say data, from the beginning to the end, everything are basically on data and information, which is the reason why I have to do some definition of terms earlier, explaining what data is. So under it, if you remember when we were talking about our information protection, DLP, and all that. So let's start from information protection. Let's see what we have there. You can see just what I have explained. They gave us a basic introduction. Discover, label, protect sensitive and business critical information across your multi-cloud data estates. Across your multi-cloud data estates. And you can see we have the overview. We won't be talking about all these payments and others, but we'll be talking about sensitivity label. We'll be talking about the policies maybe tomorrow after our conclusion tomorrow. Then the little time we have, we might create maybe 1 or 2 sensitive label and create DLP, and we might create some maybe retention policy also. If I'm unable to cover everything, Aisha will pick it up from there. So these classifiers, if you see under classifiers, we have trainable classifier, sensitive info types, EDM classifier, on-demand classification, collection policy. I would like to dwell on this then before I stop, because a lot of confusion is always on this particular part that we want to talk about right now. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even like to do anything that have to do with either Purview or Defender, because they are broader than what you think, and their configuration most of the time do not go straightforward, just like you have it in Exchange SharePoint. There are some things in Exchange SharePoint teams, once you look at it, you know that these ones, they are by design. Nothing can be done. But when it comes to Defender and Purview, you can say it's by design, and somebody will tell you, no, 2 weeks ago, Microsoft have changed it, and this is how to go about it. This is how to go about it. So classifiers. classifiers. As the name sound, who will tell us what is the meaning based on what we've talked about so far? Classifiers. I'm looking at the chart. Classifiers. Let's be smart with it. We have. Okay. I just want us to use a term we've used already. We've used it already. Document sensitivity, yes. What else? Labeling. Well, labeling. Well, classifiers. We've mentioned it already when I was talking about data. If you remember, I explained it already. So the classifiers, you see that currently a lot of company has millions of files, email, chats, a lot of things these days that cannot be manually open. You can't manually open every single document they have in, let me say, Dangote Group. In Dangote Group now, we have the sugar, we have the cement, we have the refinery, we have what else again? A lot of things. You now say, okay, you want to open every files, email, documents that were sent, and you now start classifying it. This one is sensitive. This one is not sensitive. That one is sensitive. This one is not sensitive. Yes, structured and unstructured data. So you can't do that. You can't do that. But there are ways in which you can do, you can actually classify those data. There are ways in which you can classify those data, which is what we have on our screen. So the first one we have there, the trainable classifier. The trainable classifier. So the trainable classifier, when they are trying to classify data, they don't look for patterns or numbers. Instead, they use a AI. What is it called now? Machine learning, AI, to understand the meaning, tone, and the context of a whole document and conversation to now classify it to any of what we've talked about previously: public, general, confidential, highly confidential. For people that are into AI very well, you know that our AI is not as smart as we think they are. We have to train them. So the same thing with what we have here, So they use machine learning to understand the meaning, tone, and the context of a document or conversation and email to do what? To classify it. So let's say, example, I want to train my classifier now to be able to classify Nigeria corporate contracts. Let me say in Nigeria now, I just need to narrow it down. Nigeria corporate contracts. I can go online and get like 50 drafts of contracts, different form of contracts, and I use it to train my classifier. So when a contract is highly confidential, my classifier can easily classify it as highly confidential, and it will restrict what can be done with that information. And most of the time, depending on what I have, if information is highly confidential, user should not be able to alter it or send it out of the organization. So that is that for trainable classifier. So the next one we have is the sensitive info type. So for the sensitive info type, it works based on pattern. It's a pattern-based classifier. I don't know, maybe somebody have experienced it before. They are trying to send email and that email will go to people's junk folder. They will get error that the email, I think maybe I've forgotten the English that is used now, but it's like you have a strange patterns in that email. So when it comes to the sensitive info types, it works based on pattern. This classifier works based on pattern. The reason why I'm explaining this is I would like us after today, maybe before tomorrow class, we can just open them one after the other. We have a test environment and try to do one or two things with them. And the reason why I'm explaining it is so you can understand each of them and know what you are doing. You are not just clicking around. You are not just clicking around. So let's say now, like our BVN or our NIN, they are always 11 digits. So once you have something like 11 digits for your BVN in your email, then it will classify it immediately that this is a sensitive data. Immediately to classify it, or you put your credit card or your debit card information, you add it to your email or your documents or anything, it will do what? It will flag it immediately, almost immediately. So that is for the sensitive info type. You can also create your own sensitive labels and the sensitive info types also. And the next one is, sorry that I'm being fast. I'm looking at the time as well. So the next one is EDM classifier. So this one is like a an advance of the sensitive info type. So instead of guessing based on pattern, EDM looks for the exact match against a specific list or database we upload. It's looking for the exact match. Sensitive type is looking for patterns. Remember, the trainable classifier, they are AI. These ones are not looking for patterns. They are being trained. But EDM now is looking for the exact match. If, don't worry, we'll go to information barrier. You see that there are some organizations, especially schools, that make use of Teams. If you type some abusive word like foolish, fool, and some other abusive word, and you click send, it won't go. The information barrier will do what? Will protect such word from being sent from one student to another, or from a teacher to a student. So that is like a form of EDM classifier. That's like a form of EDM classifier. It will look for the exact match, the exact word, and do what? And classify it. Like at the subject, if you add confidential, then it will immediately do what? Put it confidential. In my organization, if you send an email that has a barcode in it, because we have some things that we do with barcode within the organization, it will automatically encrypt it and make it a highly confidential information, because it must not go to the wrong hand. It must not go to the wrong hand. E.g., let me say, if you export a database of customers or employee records, you will see that if you are searching for name, let's assume you are trying to search for my name now. You now write Olajide. You do not add the E. Most of the time, it will give you the accurate information you needed. But if you write my full name, whatever name that matches or information that matches that name, it will do what? It will bring it out automatically. It's like searching for your BVN number, where we have a lot of BVN number. You have to look for the actual one for you to be able to get it. I think we have just 5 minutes more, so we can go for questions. And the next one we have there is on-demand classification. So these ones, they are operational arms of your classifier. They are operational arms of your classifier. So on demand, this allows you to manually trigger or scan a specific file, folder, whenever you want, rather than waiting for it to trigger automatically. So this one, we are doing it manually. That is on-demand classification. All the classification that we'll talk about one after the other. So that's why I said on-demand and collection policy. They are the operational arms of all the three classifier that we have talked about. So the first one is for you to trigger it manually, while the second one, it has rules that detect where the classifier should look, what they should gather, and you use it to say, maybe look for BVN only inside financial documents in a SharePoint, in OneDrive, and others. So you can set a rule automatically. Once it gets those information that is needed, it do what? It will trigger automatically, but you have to set a rule for that to work. I will stop here tonight. Any question? Any question? Muhyiddin, sorry about that. You can reach out to Airtel customer care. So any question? It's time for question now.
All right. Thank you so much, Olajide. Please, let's keep the reactions coming in. Thank you so much. That was a very, very good session. A very good introduction to Microsoft Purview. So, Messi has a question for you in the chat, but I want to start enabling mics so that we can ask questions. So I see Takpo and then Shegun. So I'll enable your mics, and Shegun looks like is the first here. So once I enable your mic, you can unmute and speak. Then after you, Shegun, would have Takpo.
Okay, for Messi's question that we have in the chat, that can be done from Defender, not from what is it called? Not from Purview. What they are saying, if you want to blacklist add-ons or websites, it is done from Microsoft Security, that is Defender, not from Purview. Tomorrow, I can just show you some live environments that you see some of the information. Just remind me at the start of class tomorrow, Messi.
All right, thanks for that response. So you can go now, Shegun.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Ige. So I'm sorry, my question is actually going to be on one of the things you raised earlier about your tenants that you're unable to access. I don't know. I feel there should be a way if you are the original owner. You talked about a tenant that you don't have access to, even though it's one of your demo tenants. So is there no way to, if for instance, for my organization now, I can see that each time I look at the global administrator on it, I see the head of IT, who happens to be my boss, and the vendor supporting the our Microsoft the ecosystem. So I understand that if my boss, for instance, get kicked out, we can reach out to the vendor. But for you now, in this case, that you've logged yourself out of the tenant, is there no way you can reach out to Microsoft directly to get back into the tenant? Or if you lose a tenant as a global admin, that's the end of the tenant?
No, that is not the end, but you have to raise tickets to Microsoft. If you raise it, there is a team called data protection. They will ask you some personal information just for you to confirm if you are the owner of the tenant or not. They might ask you some, maybe like your ID card, just some personal information to know that you actually own it. But me, I don't have time for that. When I have like K3,
Okay,
4,
exactly. That's it.
there's tenants.
Okay, that's what I want to establish, because I just feel that there should be a way around it.
There's actually
All
a
right,
way around.
that's the only question I have. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shegun, and thanks, Olajide. So just like Olajide says, just because it's a test tenant, if it was a real production tenant, obviously we would have slept in front of Microsoft Office or something. But then it's a test tenant, and as such, it's not so much of a bother to him. Thank you so much, Olajide, and thanks, Shegun. So now to you, Dapo.
Good evening. Thank
Good
you for.
evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, you can.
When we started, you made reference to the fact that we can't store sensitive information of an organization or the organization's customers on the cloud. This is the first time I'm hearing that, because there was a time I was discussing with somebody that they have an hospital. I learned they had large forms of what they call information about their patients that were on paper, and was kind of proposing to them that, okay, why can't they bring this thing? Maybe they kind of a document management where they would now do scan all these documents and probably put it on the Microsoft. So sorry, put it on in the cloud, either on the cloud Azure or maybe OneDrive. But now that you are saying that there is a regulation or a policy that customers information should not be placed on cloud, it must be on an on-premise server. Okay, and now if it's an on-premise server, is there any tool from Microsoft that one can use internally to prevent access and all these other things? Number one, for data loss prevention, number one, and for kind of control unauthorized access. Then two, this Purview, is there a particular, is it all the licenses for Microsoft that covers Purview, or is there a particular license that covers it? Particular license for Microsoft that covers it? That's what. Those are my two questions.
Okay, thank you. So the number one question, which is part of the reason why we have this training, I know even not for what we are talking about now, a lot of hospitals, I call them clinic, like those neighborhood hospitals, this one we do have close to the house, most of them, I call them clinic. Um, they don't have all this information, and most of them don't even have an IT person that can enlighten them about this. So if they get sued, they might have to pay millions of naira, they will be found. So informations about your customers, irrespective of any firm in the country, either government or private, you are not allowed to keep your customers' information in the cloud. Get me when I mean in the cloud. Um, your interface or your platform, probably they have a form they need to fill. Like Nigeria military now, if you want to join the military, you get their form, or Nigeria police, you get their form, you fill it. So after filling that form and everything, you are redirected and everything, their information is saved locally on their data, on their server, local server. The information is not saved in cloud. However, when you talk about disaster recovery, remember when I was saying it jokingly that one of the lucrative business that we are not looking into it in Nigeria is data center. At least I work with two organizations now that they have their own data centers, and other people are paying them to keep their servers in their data centers. And if I tell you, paying them not even in local currency, in foreign currency, and they are paying them in millions to keep those server running. So if you have your server in your own, let me assume you have your server in your house now, that you have all your customers' information. Then you go and get a server in a data center, which will be your backup data. So everything we have on your server will be replicating to that data center in case maybe your own server can even go down, probably shut down. There is what we call load balancing. It will take the load and it will put it on the other server. So everything will keep going on fine as if nothing happens. To keep going on fine as if nothing happens. You can check online about those policies and the data recovery. What is your third question? I think I've forgotten. You asked one other question.
The license, which of the licenses is covered?
Yeah, so every license you have in Microsoft 365, even you have business basic, you have access to compliance. But the kind of license you have will determine the kind of features that will be available to you for use. If you have business basic now, you might not have this classifier. That is, if I have trainable classifier and sensitive info type or only sensitive info type, I don't have other configurations or features available to you. So it all depends on what you have. Even business basic, you have access to compliance, but the features that will be available will be limited. So for mid or bigger organizations, so it is always good you have E3, 5, or I'm not sure we still have P1, P2 again, but at least E3, 5, or what is it called now? There is this security or something license. I've forgotten the name now, that you can actually get. Then you have all the features that you needed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I want to assume there's no any other question. My boss, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Olajide, and thanks to everyone that's asked questions. Thanks to Mercy, Shegun, and Dapo. So that'll be it. That'll be it for tonight. Thank you guys for the reactions. Let's appreciate our speaker for tonight again for laying the foundation. And as I said, tomorrow we'll move further in Purview and continue to explore Microsoft Purview. So thank you guys for joining tonight. And okay, Oluwatosi, the attendance is in the chat. If you don't have it, it means you just joined, but it's in the chat. But I'll look forward to seeing us again tomorrow. Okay, but just before I go, let me just bring up the attendance again, just for the sake of those that don't have it. Okay, it's in the chat now, so you can please clock in your attendance. And then, like I said, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow so we can continue to Purview. And as you know, same time, 8 p.m. West African time. Thank you for joining, and let's have a great night ahead, or morning, afternoon, because I know we have people joining from other regions as well. Thank you guys. Bye for now.